Good afternoon. Oh, my presentation as well, that's excellent. Otherwise you're going to see me do it without any slides at all, which could have been entertaining. It's an English custom to have an after-dinner speaker. So today you've got an after-lunch speaker from England. So we're going to talk about clouds, but we're going to talk about very practical pieces of cloud. Cloud can be a very academic subject. We want to get into what can we do with them. If we seed a cloud, what business benefit can we get? How can we earn money? How can we save money? And there's one thing about clouds that I know, and I hope you can help me. What is a cloud when it gets near the ground? Fog! Thank you. I really didn't pay for that, did I? I asked. A cloud near the ground is fog. In other words, a cloud can be a very confusing place. You can get lost in it. But we have to keep things very simple so that we can understand what the business benefits are. The other problem that we really suffer with cloud is the people who doubt. The people who say, hey, I've got a virtualization farm, I've got everything I ever needed. But actually they haven't got the full business benefits. Yes, they've got great business benefits in driving up their utilization, but they haven't actually got the full benefits that a cloud solution can bring them and the real flexibility that can be offered to a CIO in an organization. So we're going to look then at practical ways of building clouds. Now, Martin started earlier with this, and it's a shocking statement, especially if you're HP, because if you think, and they're right, by the end of next year, 20% of the businesses we know today as customers will not be buying compute from us or from our resellers and everything else. It's a very worrying space. And what it says is there's actually suppliers coming out there that are going to offer you your IT capabilities as a service. And that's what cloud is really about. Suppliers appearing, starting to offer. But I think it's very interesting. It says 20%. It doesn't say 100%. Cloud isn't going to wreck your IT department, rip it apart, and make the whole world very different to what you have now. Cloud is going to become part of that world. Yes, for some businesses, and in particular small businesses, it will be a total change, and there'll be new opportunities in the market. But for big enterprises, it will enter as part of the total story, part of what people are doing. So, a little challenge. With a cloud infrastructure, what do you want to see? Well, realistically, what you want to see is nothing. You don't want to know where that pile of computers are. You don't really want to know where that rack of equipment is. But perhaps you do want to know something. Because perhaps what you really want to see is the interface. You want to be able to go to that cloud and you want to be able to find out what services are available, what capabilities are available. You want some form of self-service portal that you go to. You want to discover on that a service catalog. And you want to be able to discover from that service catalog the things that you can actually get, the things you can access, how much they're going to cost you. And you want to be able to go and press the order button at some stage as well. So we can come along here and we can select our various offers. There's a lamp stack there. You can see when it was set up and you can see what it's available to do. This is for a particular customer at the present moment, so some of the notes and descriptions will be specific to that customer. And you can see a little picture in the bottom right. You do need to look very carefully at the picture in the bottom right, but it shows you what it looks like as infrastructure. And you can come along and you can actually press that button on the far right-hand side that says, after you've selected Create Service, and of course it starts up and it starts to build your service. You do notice there's a cost column. Because cloud is not going to be buy your IT equipment in advance. It's going to cost you a certain amount of money every month. You know if you go to Amazon ECS that you pay for your cloud every month. You pay hour by hour. In fact, you pay 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And the bill on Amazon can run up a long way if you're not thinking about it at that moment. So we can go and order what we want, and obviously critically is this interface that we work to. But sitting underneath it is a whole load of equipment and the components that allow you to build cloud. There'll be some servers, and you can see sitting up the top there a standard HP blade enclosure. You can see one of them, no, two of them pulled slightly forward so you can get the idea of them. It's about this tall. And you can see just to the right of it, the picture on the back of it. You can see the network connections all in there. You can see a well-integrated solution. You can see storage, and you can see a network switch as well down there. And these are the pieces that sit out there. These are the pieces that act as the foundation, and you need to get them right. But what makes cloud? Cloud is made by adding to this the software. My fill has missed. Okay, the important thing is adding to that infrastructure is the software that is there at that moment. This also is an interesting way to think about hardware. I don't know if you've heard about HP building data centers in shipping containers. So you can have the long shipping container or the short shipping container. You can have a long pod or a short pod. And basically you put the equipment down the middle. You have a hot aisle on one side and a cold aisle on the other side. And you can get terrific power densities inside these places. We're talking about somewhere between 25 and 30 kilowatts per rack that's going inside there. We can deliver enough power into there, we can deliver the compute that goes in there, and we can deliver the cooling to make this work as a complete solution. So this is a really interesting world. But I'd like to try a little quiz with you, and I hope the slide builds correctly. Yes, it does. So I'd like to think about virtual machines, the same size as what Amazon offer, as their standard thing. This container, I'm going to give you 4 terabytes per server as well for storage capability, so a lot of storage capability. And I'm going to let you guess as to how many virtual machines I could fit in there. What I know is there's one person in the audience who's done the sums already. So I'm going to look carefully in the other direction from the one person who knows the answer. Do you think I can get over 40,000 virtual machines in my big container? No? Oh, okay. 10,000? Definitely get 10,000 in there. Definitely get 10,000 in there. 4,000? 1,000. Didn't see many votes, actually. The shocking reality is it's the top number. 40,000 virtual machines in a shipping container. You will never look at a shipping container ever in the same way again. As they go down the road, you think, that could be 40,000 virtual machines going down the road in front of me. It's a very different world. It is highly intense computing. It's pushed into one thing. And it relies critically on the design of the software, how you're going to get in and access that. Because that could be the most monstrous management challenge you can ever imagine. If you can't get hold of it, you can't get to the resources. You can't exactly walk up to the on-off switch on a virtual machine when there's 40,000 of them sat inside a container. So an interesting thought. Software is the key thing that brings cloud together. It's not the low-cost infrastructure. That's all very important stuff to get right. But the important thing is how you build your control of the cloud, how you bring your applications onto it. So, my components, that's very good. But software is the real key. And so what I'm going to talk about and take my time to talk about is explaining to you how the software functions and what it looks like and what it would be. Now, we at HP work with a single architecture for cloud. We work with a single design across our hardware infrastructure and our software infrastructure, and we believe that these are the golden rules. It doesn't matter who you are, if you're HP or anyone else. If you're going to build a cloud, you've got to get these sort of things right. It's got to be a very easy to understand system, and my challenge today is to make sure that you see it as an easy to understand system. It's practical, easy to explain. It's got to understand everything about life cycles, from end to end, from top to bottom, from requesting a service to actually retiring a service. It's got to understand all of the different aspects of end-to-end that you can have. And the software's got to cope with it. It's got to have componentized. You can't block and lock in components. Technology moves on. So you've got to have a way to understand standard interfaces inside that environment, use the open standards as far as they exist, make a few bets on what you think is going to be an important standard, adopt, if necessary, some of the de facto standards inside the industry. Make sure you can work with multi-vendor infrastructure. Be ready to scale. Scale out, massive scale out. So you got my container. My container is one example of massive scale out. Imagine 4 or 5 of them in a row coming up. You're starting to see the real data centers. You've seen, I'm sure, the pictures of Microsoft's data centers, Google's data centers that are container-based, standing there, container after container after container. You've got to be able to scale and understand that. The other piece is it's got to be highly automated. There's no point in having one container full of your cloud infrastructure and a very large tower block alongside with the thousands and thousands of employees that you need to keep this thing running. So you need to make sure that you've got it automated, and you need that automation for very fundamental reasons. You've got to avoid human error. Human error, whether it be accidental or whether it be deliberate, you've got to try and avoid that human error that comes in. You've also got to, with thousands of customers all in the same environment, you've got to know how to keep those customers apart. Even in a small company, let's say your cloud is just one rack in size. That's all you need. That can actually meet your entire need. You may still have, as an IT department, 4 or 5 customers. Those 4 or 5 customers may not actually get on very well with each other, and they may demand that their resources are separated. So even inside one enterprise, multi-tenancy is a very important piece. And the other thing is, with so much compute going on, you've got to think about the environmental aspects. And actually there's a bit of a kick in the environmental aspects, because if you keep the power consumption down, not only are you good for the environment, but actually you spend less money with the electricity company, you spend less money on the cooling systems, and actually you can get away with less space. So actually the environmental thing kicks in lots of different ways and really helps you. So these are the things you've got to find inside that architecture.